as well, which is always good. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a public sprite sheet. Let's actually start just with a sprite. So we'll make a sprite to begin with. Okay, so our sprite here, what we're going to do is we're going to have to include. How do I want to set it up? If I set it up to include an image, so we'll send it the image that we loaded before, which was our textures. We're then going to have to set a start value for the x. Now the start value for the x is going to be 0. The y value start y value is going to be 0, and the size of the sprite is going to be 64. Okay. So now what we can do, if we start that as a new thing again, and we're going to put that into GUI as well. And we'll just set the constructor up as well. Not sprite. Okay, in here what we're going to do is xs, ys, size, and image right. So first thing we're going to do is tile size is going to equal size, and we're going to set that up as a field, just like that. Okay, next thing we're going to do is do our pixels for our sprite. We're going to equal a new int for this, which we're going to do size times size, because our sprites are always going to be square, and so that's why we've only got a size rather than a width and a height, and we're going to create that as a field as well. Sorry. Next thing to do is do image.render. Okay, our target that we're going to render onto is pixels. Our S width is size. Our XO is going to be XS. And our YO is going to be YS. And we're going to use the same render function. We don't need to rewrite that, we're just going to print it over. Except where it says that, we're going to use tile size instead. Where it says width, we're going to use tile size. Here we should really use tile size as well. Okay. So now what I should be able to do is just doing that, and instead of that there, just put S instead, and we should just now print, yeah, we just print that 64 that we cropped off of our textures thing. So now we're going to do a public sprite sheet. And for this what we're going to do is we're just going to include a we're going to just include a file name, and then we're going to do a size, like so. That's all we're going to include for our sprite sheet. I'm going to put that into GUI. And didn't mean to do that, just put that back into there. So we still have a full screen of our code. Okay, so what we're going to do in here is we're going to copy the tile size over, just because I'm too lazy to write it all out again. And we're going to set that to fname. Right. What we can actually do in game now as well is delete this image. We're not going to need it. We're not going to need that because we're going to condense all of that code that we had just then, that I've just now deleted. We're going to condense into this one function here. So the first thing I'm going to do is make a new image. And we're just going to include fname in the thing, and this will make us the image that we had in the game very normally ago. I'm going to do for I equals 0. Now I is going to be less than image dot get width, which I haven't made the function yet, but I have to go and make the function, and then divide it by size. Let's just quickly bring that over. There you go. And then we're just going to do I++. So now what this will do is this will loop the whole thing that we're about to write in a second. So what this will do This works out the width of the entire image divided by the size of the sprites we're trying to make. So for example, the image is 320 wide and it's the sprites are 64 by 64, therefore there's 5 on the screen, so the eye loop will loop 5 times. And this way it's going to allow us just to include the whole sheet. Give me a return width. Yeah, it's going to allow us to grab the whole sheet and turn it all into sprites instantly, rather than having to include each one individually. So what we can do here is do this.sprites.add new sprite. And the sprites are going to start including our image. We need our x start value, which is I times size. And then j times size is going to be our y value, and then size is going to be our size. Next we're going to do is make a new field, and obviously it's not going to know what we're trying to make. We're going to use an array list. Now the reason I'm using an array list instead of an array for this is an array list allows us just to add things as we please. So this way we won't have to set the total size of the array before we make it. And pull that quick. Just after that, this should be it. Okay. Yeah. So this will allow us just to add. This is why we've just got an add value here. Next thing we're going to do is do public. Public sprite called get sprite. It's going to send us an I value. What we're going to do is first we're going to test if I is less than 0 or I is greater than or equal to sprites.size. We're just going to return null. This just makes sure that the I value they're sending us, we actually have a sprite in that reference, and it's not sending us a number below 0, which will also have an error, or bigger than the array list we've got. Next thing I'm going to do is just return this.sprites.get and then I. So this then return it. Once we check to make sure that we actually have one in that reference, which we will, we then return it. And here what we can do is do sheet.getSprite, and we'll get sprite 0 for now. And when we run it, you'll see we've got our dirt thing still. And what I can do now though is change that to 1. And when I save that, it happens. Okay, so it doesn't include that. Go back to our sprite sheet here and we'll find out why. Let's just check to make sure it's actually included in us. So system.out.println. We're going to do sprites.size. So 50. So we're including 50, which is right. The file is 5 by 10. And let's make sure we're including this right as well. Okay. That's why. So what we're doing is in Sprite we're setting our XS and our YS to be in here, whereas what that's doing, that's offsetting the image. So whereas normally it'd be printing a 0, 0, if we want to include the grass texture, which is our second one, which we should start at, be starting the image at 64 to start printing on the X value. By putting that in there, we actually need to make these minus, because then it offsets the image by the certain amount, rather than offsetting it into the positive. Which is why when we do this now, we'll have our stone. Because in here, we need to change the X and the Y around. So now it includes the X values, it'll run for all the X's, and then it'll go all the way down, rather than before it was running down in columns rather than in rows. Okay, so now obviously we've got that. Next thing I'm going to do is we're going to make a map. No, we need to make a tile sheet. Now to make a tile sheet, we are going to... So what I'm going to do with this is we're going to include... I'm going to make a new tile sheet. And I'm going to steal the code from Sprite Sheet to do this with. That's why I made the Sprite Sheet first. So we're going to include textures.png. And then we're also going to include another file which is going to be texturesref.png. And you'll see what that is in a minute. And then we're going to include our size. Okay, we'll just create that, and this one we're going to put into a new thing called world. And create a constructor there. Okay, we'll start to see what's going to happen here in a second.